Hello, Bill. We're back.
Oh, good morning, Mark. Here we are for our second podcast today, which we've got a few more lined up before Christmas, which will be interesting.
We have, and we were just chatting about the fact that we've interviewed 3 Shannons within a week and a bit,
Which is highly unusual.
Highly
isn't
unusual, and 2 of those 3 went to the same St Joey's High School. So small world we deal in. But
well, that's because we're based in Geelong.
yes,
that's
2 degrees
that
of
is.
separation.
And as I look out the window, it's pretty dark and gloomy out there. And after this, I'm driving down to Colac. So,
Okay,
and now I know that road's full of potholes.
Yep.
Because I do it on a regular basis.
And I'm off to the Benefit Geelong AGM.
Yeah,
So
good.
that'll be good. And then tonight you and I are celebrating the Geelong Business Excellence Awards judges. We're getting a meal bought for it, so that's good.
This judging has gone on for about 6 months.
It has.
And today we're here with one of the winners of the Geelong Business Excellence Awards.
And who's that?
Right. So we're Shannon Bowman, and Shannon won the Small Business of the Year award, and he owns and started a business called Create Balance. I'll see if I can pronounce this properly, Mark. Psychotherapy and counselling. And what that means is that Shannon has built a reputation and his business has built a reputation which is much needed for everybody in the community because no one is untouched. And they deal with people who have been through trauma, PTSD and anxiety and everything like that. And I think I heard Shannon say recently that if you're in a room full of people, one in so many people in that room will have an issue, even if it's not recognised.
Well, let's find out more. Welcome, Shannon.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's excellent. And you pleased with the win at the awards?
Yeah, we couldn't be happier. We'd been in the event for the last 2 to 3 years in different categories, but to actually get a win, it's amazing what 3 years can do for a business and the development of putting yourself in that environment. It really does shape your business. It's amazing.
And that's really good advice for anybody listening who wants to enter the awards. You may not win on the first year, but at least it puts you instead, and you do learn, and then you improve, and then you come back, and there you go. So well done. That's very good.
I appreciate it.
So, Mark, actually, our interview with Shannon today is about a lived experience because Shannon had a lived experience from a very early age, and I would suggest that that's how he's ended up in this new business and doing great things for the community.
So let's begin. Where did you go to primary school, Shannon?
I went to a few different primary schools. Started off in Geelong at St Thomas Primary School. Then our family went through quite a number of traumatic events. So my brother passed away, and then my family was separated and divorced. And then my parents, they got into a lot of financial debt in their business, bankruptcy. And then after that, my father passed away on Christmas Day when I was age 9. So all this traumatic stuff happened in my early childhood. And I was also grew up with a physical disability. So I wasn't able to use my hands and still have a lot of trouble with them to this day. So distal arthrogryposis. So you would say I'd had quite a lot of trauma by the age of 10 years old. So going through those experiences, I guess it made me acutely aware of other people and their emotions and their different sorts of behaviours and quirks. And later on in life, in my mid-20s, I decided to go back to university and studied counselling and psychotherapy originally, and then went on to do my master's in social work, then went on to do further clinical studies in EMDR therapy, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is the niche that we work in now. So our business is solely working in that sort of space around helping people recover from traumatic experiences.
So where'd you go to secondary school?
Ballerine Secondary School in Drysdale, when I was actually attending school, that is.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. So did you get through all of school?
I did
Yeah.
end up finishing year 12, yeah.
And while you were at high school then, did you have any jobs?
I did, yeah. I had several jobs. So I worked in a surf shop. I worked on a farm. I ended up pushing trolleys. But all throughout high school, I was a competitive skateboarder. So I was travelling around the state quite a lot and had several sponsors and was doing quite well at that. So from a young age, I've learnt to hyper focus on things and really push it as far as I can. So that would have been most of my teenage years spent travelling around skateboarding.
Do you still skateboard?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I get my two daughters on the skateboard now.
Good release to get on your board?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It hurts a lot more when you fall over now, though. Definitely hurts a hell of a lot more. And you don't recover as fast.
Yeah, well, there's that. So at high school, finishing up high school, did you have a vision of what you wanted to do? Were you thinking about where you are today, or no?
No, the short answer is no. But the long answer is I travelled around the world. So going around snowboarding, doing different ski seasons. So in Canada, in the US, then up at Falls Creek. So I was travelling a lot for the first 7 years. I couldn't sit still. And then I was in the US at the time, and I decided when I was in the US I'd had enough, and I got online and booked into university in Melbourne, and then decided to say goodbye to my friends who we were travelling around with, and got on a flight from LA back to Melbourne and started my university degree maybe 2 weeks later.
And what was that degree?
That was Bachelor in Counselling and Psychotherapy.
Okay.
Yeah, about 10 years ago now.
So what fired you to apply for that?
So obviously my traumatic experiences when I was younger left me having a lot of challenges in my early 20s, probably while I was travelling the world trying to escape my own feelings, which I did a good job at doing it for a while, but they finally caught up to me. So I did my own therapy, and getting to know my therapist over a year or so, I started to realise that this is something I'm interested in and something I believe that I could be quite good at, because prior to that I actually worked in sales for a number of years. So I was working in car sales, but what I found when I was selling cars was I actually never spoke about the car really. I would ask them about their grandkids or what they're up to on the weekend. And then finally, when it would come to actually do the deal, people would be like, oh, what does this actually do in the car? So I found that I was quite good with actually getting people to talk about things other than what they normally would talk about. So my experience has all led me to wanting to help other people.
When you go look at your background, Shannon, over the years you've been a school counsellor, I see, and you've also been an EAP counsellor. For those that don't know what EAP is, it's Employee Assistance Program, and if you're running a business and you've got a number of employees, I suggest you should sign up to an EAP program, because it's a confidential forum where your employees can go to, and exactly as I said, in confidence. You've been a youth worker, a counsellor in drug and alcohol, workplace training, and I know you're really good on the technology side of things. So how did you teach yourself all the technologies that you've developed along the way? Yes,
I guess so. I'm ADHD, so I can be a bit impulsive. The Colbier Index.
Yeah.
So on the one of them, I'm a quick start, so I would jump in the deep end very quickly. And what's that's done for me? It's given me a lot of opportunities. It's learned for me to cope with failure, because when you jump in the deep end, you fail quite a lot, but I've become good at that. So all the technologies and stuff that you're talking about, that we've talked about before, Bill, are things that I've researched, tried to understand how they can improve my business, how they can streamline processes, and how they can actually give me back my time. So I spend a bit of time in the initial phases to do it, but I gain a lot of time back following on from that.
Well, Mark, as we often refer at the moment to people we're interviewing, I was one of the judges in the Business Awards that came and visited your premises, Shannon, along with Giovanni, and I was really impressed with the systems and processes, because what my thought process at that time was, well, as you say, you do have a disability, but you've overcome that in a great way through technology, in that the technology actually helps you run your business. That's what I saw.
So what sort of things have you implemented?
So I guess having ADHD and dyslexia, straight away when I finished university, I was like, well, how am I going to speed up this process of writing clinical notes every time? So before AI was even around, I created a Google Doc that would speed up the processes and put all the information I needed to into my notes. Then when I became an early investor in AI quite a number of years ago and started using the first versions of AI back in 2020. So I was ahead of anyone else in the clinical space with that kind of stuff. So that has helped me improve efficiencies. And that's actually how I've attracted my team as well. So when people come to work for us, I always talk about how I want to save them time and get them doing the work that they do best, because no one becomes a therapist to do a lot of administration tasks. So if I can take that resistance, that pressure off them, they can do their work, and they're a lot more, it's a lot more enjoyable for them, and they can actually continue to grow and not have to worry about as much. So it came from my own challenges, and then seeing that other people, even if they don't have the same challenges as me, would actually like the same sort of services. Yeah.
And with the explosion now in AI tools, are you still adding and changing and updating? And
Yeah. So we've got quite a number of different AI tools we use, from marketing to automation to content creation to lead generation. Pretty much every part of our business is using AI.
Shannon's very active on social media, I noticed, talking about what's going on in his business. Now, I've got a question about anxiety. As I said, I think at the awards you said that within this room, which was, how many people were at the awards night?
600 and something.
600. You said that a number of people in this room would have an issue with anxiety and or other issues with society in general right now.
Yeah, so the speech that you were talking about, so I just looked around the room and I saw that there was quite a lot of people in there. So I hadn't actually thought about that before I got up there, but I was drawn to say it. So 1 in 5 people in the next 12 months will suffer from a mental health challenge. That might be depression or anxiety or a combination, or post-traumatic stress disorder. So the reason I was saying that, because there's a lot of people who are going to be struggling over the next 12 months. And you probably don't even know it. They're probably not coming to you and telling you about it, but they are struggling. And the reason I brought that up in the room there, because it could be in your business and you don't even know that one of your team members is struggling. And if you don't know that, or they're not available to be able to come to talk to you about it, there's lost productivity. Because the biggest cost for Australian businesses these days is the annual $9 billion we spend on lost productivity because of absenteeism, presenteeism, and actually taking mental health days and things like that. So if we can provide a place where they can get help, early intervention, we actually are better for our businesses.
And that comes back to leadership. Remember in our last podcast we asked our another Shannon, about his leadership. But this is one of the things that leaders have got to be aware of, that if they've got a business there and say there's 50 people working in it or 20 people working in it, you've got to have an awareness that every one of those people is an individual, and outside of work they've got other issues going on. And if you expect them all to be clones and all the rest of it, it'll never work. And I just see that gap just exists there. And this is when I mentioned about the EAP before, Mark, is that if you're a business owner and you sign up to that program, then anyone in your employment can go and access that program confidentially, with confidence that they will find a counsellor to talk to, and the company's paid for it. Yeah.
Very, very important, Bill. So, Shannon, when you finished your first degree, what did you step into? What was your first role after that?
So while I was at university, I got a role as a telephone and online counsellor. So I was up all night talking to people about their drug and alcohol problems or their gambling problems. So I did that for a number of years while I was doing my master's as well. Then I worked in forensic. So that was helping people who've come out of prison who had previously had drug and alcohol problems. So I would see them for up to 12 sessions and help them get back into the community and try to get control of those addictions that they might have been challenged by. And after that, I ended up working in a hospital, so in a private hospital, running group programs for anxiety, depression, addictions, and things like that.
Wow, it's a evolution for you, isn't it? You just kept. Is it looking for opportunities, or it's just naturally these have popped up in front of you and you've just kept moving?
I would say a mixture of both. I'm always keeping an eye out for opportunities, and because of my nature and being a quick start, I will quite often jump into opportunities and see where they take me.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm always looking for opportunities, and you can't be idle in business or career because it ends up becoming quite stale, and it doesn't actually work if you just stay the same. So I'm always trying to grow the business or myself professionally or personally. Yeah.
So nice segue there, because what tipped you into, I'm going to run my own business? When did that start?
Probably when I look back from like when I was doing my degree. Prior to that, I never stayed in a job for very long. I wasn't a good employee, maybe.
No, you're just taking new learning opportunities. That's all you're doing.
That's a better way to put it.
Yes.
Yeah, Bill, thank you. So I would find I'd get itchy feet and I would be bored and it wasn't challenging enough. So I would think that, this isn't for me, but without really understanding what was going on for me and this type of work environment and challenge that I actually needed to be successful. So I needed a hell of a lot more pressure than what workplaces were giving me. So when I realised that, and then I started to decide that I was going to go out on my own, straight away it clicked for me. And yeah, I haven't looked back since now. What is it, 7 years now?
So day one, where did you start? Start here in this location? Or?
No, I was in Melbourne. So my first practice was out of the front room in my Brunswick home.
Yep.
So I started seeing clients there. Then had a practice in Reservoir. So was seeing clients there for about a year. And then in 2019, we moved to Geelong and had our first practice or office, small office in Belmont, and then Geelong West, and then another one in Geelong West, and then we've moved to this bigger premise now in December last year.
So how did the clients find you when you started? How did you? Was it referrals, word of mouth? What?
Well, that was part of the learning. Straight away, I'm like, open the doors, people are going to come and see me. No, didn't work that way. So that's when I'm like, I have to learn about marketing and putting myself out there. So that's when I started to learn about Google and SEO and how to make sure I'm at the top of search engines and things like that. So it took about 12 months before I got the hang of all that kind of stuff. And that's where my passion and I guess innovation side came out. Well, how am I going to do this so I can automate all this stuff so I don't have to continually be trying to get clients? I want a system that just is switched on and can be turned up when we need to turn up or turn down. So that was the early days of trying to develop that.
So how many clients would you be dealing with now?
I think we probably see about 5,000 appointments this year, probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how big's your team? You use counsellors, of course. Yeah.
Yes.
So how's big's your team?
So we've got social workers, counsellors, we've got a doctor, and we've got a nurse. So there's 9 therapists. Yeah, 9 or 1. Yeah.
Wow.
And then admin staff and other people, yeah.
And what's a sort of typical issue that you deal with?
So because we do a therapy called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, it's a trauma therapy. So we get a lot of people coming in who have post-traumatic stress disorder. So they might have been in a car accident, or they might have had a work accident, or they might have been assaulted. So we help them recover from all those symptoms they might have. So things like sleep disturbances, nightmares, or having panic attacks when they go near the place where it happened. So we help people get back to living life, without those symptoms.
Have you got an example? You just pick one at random of someone that's come in who is in real trouble, and after, I guess, a period of time, you've seen a change and they've been able to get on with life as normal.
Yeah. Okay, well, this one was actually from a few years ago, but I had a client who lived in Melbourne, had children in Geelong. They were older. They'd had a car accident, and part of the car accident symptoms after it, they were struggling to drive across the Westgate Bridge, but they needed to go across the Westgate Bridge to get to Geelong. Otherwise, it was a big detour. So they would get onto the Westgate Bridge and they would have a panic attack every time. So like, imagine driving on the Westgate Bridge and having a full-blown panic attack. It's pretty distressing. So that then becomes another traumatic thing. They're scared of that now. So it puts a massive strain on their life. So they were able to get someone to drive them to my office. And we did EMDR therapy over a number of sessions. And yeah, their symptoms went away and they were able to make a full recovery and get back to living life and be able to drive across the Westgate Bridge because it's essential to their life.
Well, let me tell you, a lot of people are scared of driving over
the Westgate Bridge.
I was driving over one day. I was driving a lady's car. We're coming back from a meeting in the bush, and I was on the left-hand lane, on the edge, and she got really nervous, and I had to move into the centre lane to get away from the edge.
Interesting. So what's the therapy? Explain more about the eye therapy.
So if you've gone through a traumatic experience, let's use the example of the car accident. At the time of the car accident, you are so overwhelmed and stressed, parts of your brain are not operating how they normally would. So the part of your brain that processes the memory and puts it into long-term memory it's offline. So the hippocampus and the amygdala, which is like the fire alarm in your brain, that's going crazy. So it's saying danger, danger, danger. And what happens is because all that stress that's going on, you don't actually get to process the memory correctly. So after it's all done and dusted, you start to notice you get symptoms that might start progressively, but it gets worse because the longer you're stuck in that sort of loop of trauma playing out, the worse life gets in real time. So if you imagine you've got a splinter in your thumb, your brain is constantly trying to heal it, but it can't because there's something stuck there. The moment I pull the splinter out, I don't have to tell my brain, heal thumb, make my thumb better. It just does it on its own.
Yep.
So EMDR works the same. We get someone in the room and we get them to process the trauma in a safe environment. And once that part of the trauma becomes unstuck and they get the opportunity to process it in the room, those symptoms go away. So the symptoms of the distressing feelings in their body will dissipate. The thoughts about the memory actually become a lot more distant. So it's quite often I hear people go, it's harder to access. The memory doesn't come up anymore. I'm not having those flashbacks anymore. And once that all kicks in, as part of the theory, it's adaptive information comes in. So whereas all the adaptive information before was blocked by the trauma, now you can start to think a lot more clearly about it. So like, I'll hear things like, oh, it doesn't bother me as much anymore, or I'm fine to do that now. So it happens quite quickly over a number of sessions. If it's a chronic long-term trauma, it can take quite a long time. But if it's a single event or just a few events, it's a lot quicker.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah, fascinating. And mental health and stress seems to be growing and growing. I think back to the start of my career many, many moons ago. It was never a topic, never came up. Yet today, it's front of mind in everything that seems to go on. And I went to a lunch, a dinner, a brekkie, whatever it was, probably a couple of years ago now, and WorkSafe said that they thought that claims for workers' compensation was starting to get to 2 out of 4 would be mental health, if not more. So what do you think's driving that, Shannon? Are we more aware, or is it?
I think we're more aware, and as we're more aware, individuals put more sort of emphasis on that in their everyday life. So they might bring it to their workplace, and they might be talking about it in their football club and other areas of life. So it just has like a snowballing effect. And then once we're all talking about it, businesses have to become aware of it as well, because they can't ignore it anymore. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, we could just ignore it and just say, oh, that's what John's like. He's just always angry. Or we were able to talk our way out of it a long time ago. But now it's, at the front of people's minds. And people actually want to know that their employees care about their well-being and that they're going to have an EAP service, or they're going to be able to have flexibility when they've got issues going in their family life and things like that, because it's a big part of our life.
It's really interesting. So, Shannon, what's your... Bill always asks this question, but I'll jump in. And 5 years' time, what do you see your vision for your business?
Well, over the next 12 months, I'm going to be working out out in the community a lot more. You'll see my face around a lot more, talking about mental health, talking with organisations, big, small and large. We're going to be discussing topics like neurodivergent workforce, how to tap into the strengths of that cohort of people so you can really develop your business in an inclusive way. The practice will undoubtedly grow and we'll be able to support more people. But my sort of personal thing will be doing more conversations about this topic, mental health. So coming on podcasts like this, educating people and consulting with organisations and building our team.
Fantastic.
Yeah, well, now you see why he won the award. Right?
That's
He
fantastic.
impressed the judges.
Yeah,
well, they might be impressionable, but he did impress them.
So, Shannon, how do people find you? What's the place to go to reach out to you?
So there's a number of ways. The most simple way would be to go to our website, createbalance.com.au. Lots of free resources on there. You don't even need to book an appointment and you can still get help on the website. So that would be number one. Otherwise, go on to Instagram or Facebook. We have a large following on there. We publish educational content every day of the week on many different topics. So you can learn a hell of a lot before you even book an appointment. But if you get to the point where you need to book an appointment, just fill out an inquiry on our website or give us a call and one of our team will contact you straight away to talk you through the process of making an appointment if you need.
Fantastic.
All right, Shannon, thank you for that.
Thank you, Shannon. I've learnt lots in that. So good luck for the future. And I look forward to seeing you pop up around Geelong running some sessions. So
thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you, Shannon.